Hi, I'm Carl Stabe of Domino Connection, and I feel so lucky to have Scott Stratten here with me today of Unmarketing. He's a relationship builder. He understands social media in and out. Thanks for being here with us.
My absolute pleasure. It's only taken me a few years to get it right, so we're good. I'm glad to be here.
I always like to dive into who you are and where you started and how you got to become on marketing.
Yeah, my world's on marketing. It's been that for about 12 years now. So what it is today is I just do keynote talks at conferences and write kind of ridiculously ranting books. And from when I started 12 years ago, it was more of a kind of an agency type of thing. We created video, and it was word of mouth and viral marketing type of stuff. And I've been running my own stuff for over 10 years. I always find that the word entrepreneur is Latin for terrible employee. Like you can't. It's something in your blood that makes you not want to work for people, right? And I certainly caught that bug very early on, and I worked in the corporate world when I graduated college for two jobs, a total of 4 years, and that was enough for me. I was just ready to collect pension at the end of that. I'm like, I'm good. I don't have to do this anymore, right? I'm fine. Paid my dues, and I kind of haven't looked back ever since.
And you started in HR, so a big part of what you teach is building those connections, and not just doing it in a way where like you're going after something, but real relationships. And
Yeah, I think that, but it's a lot of it comes down to motive, right? And then when you start building relationships to simply gain from them, it's that's just weird, a weird way to think. Where it's almost like it's almost what comes down to it. We shouldn't even be talking like that. We shouldn't have to tell people that building relationships should be something for the sake of the relationship. That it's almost the point where we can both sit here and say, I don't know why people don't know this a lot of times, but they have to be reminded of it all the time. That whether you're building a Twitter following or your LinkedIn connections or face to face, I just think there's never a negative result to knowing more people and more people knowing you.
and yeah, and also if I can add to that too is what value you believe that you can bring to people.
Right, versus always asking yourself, what are they going to bring to me?
Yes,
Right.
yes, exactly. So tell us a little bit, and we'll kind of take a step back here. Your personality. I look at you and how many Twitter followers you have, and thousands of people, and the attention that you are able to garner. But there's people out there that are like, I don't have that personality. I can't make people, not make them pay attention, but get their attention and show them how caring I am. So how do you start? What's your personality? How have you been able to do that? And then how do other people do it?
Well, one of the things for me has been great is like where I really kind of blew up and started growing online platform wise was Twitter, and it just really fit well with my personality. That there's kind of the pithy tweets of these little kind of smart remarks and in the smart ass kind of way I do them, and or tips that just really lent to my style, and which is also why I don't tell people to try to emulate me or anybody else. Really, that just it doesn't fit your way of doing it. Great, and you have to also realize that I started at zero. I had zero followers, I had zero likes, I had zero contacts, and I didn't have a name before going into it. I didn't have like a TV show, and then I got on Twitter and said, "Everybody go follow me." I built that one at a time. When people, what they don't see is the effort. They're like, "Ah, he's got 160,000 followers on Twitter." I'm like, I worked for each one of those. I tweeted over 110,000 times, 100,000 times now, and people don't want to hear that part, right? They don't want to hear that you actually had to do stuff to get it. They just hear like, "Wow, look at that platform you got." I'm like, I don't know. It's a lot of effort, and it just lent to my personality, which is very passionate yet very anger driven sometimes. And but that's me, and that's one of the best pieces of advice I can ever give people when they try to build relationships, especially virtual, we make the mistake sometimes of being what we think people want us to be on those platforms versus being you. And for me, that crass but passionate kind of personality is me. And so when people meet me, they meet the same person that they saw tweeting yesterday. And that's one of the downfalls I find today of social versus in person. And by the way, for me, relationships and building them, they're not exclusive to each other. You online and in person are a perfect match. I don't think one replaces the other. I think nothing beats face to face. Nothing beats talking directly with a person. But I think there's a good bridge with virtual. But the problem is when we show up and we're not what we are like on Facebook. We're not like we are on Twitter, whether that's personality, whether that's even your picture. Like you said, I walk in, I've seen people at events like, hey, I'm this person. I'm like, what? You pull up your phone, you try to see it. Like, it's not you. It's not going to happen. And it almost creates a mistrust.
Yeah.
And I also understand virtually that especially people who are really introverted, really shy, they can be more out there and open virtually versus like a networking event or a cocktail party. But you got to be careful that don't try to be acting where you think you should act. That I think that authentic word comes into play. That I don't want that. I want people when they met me to say same person on Twitter, same person on stage, same person in person, same person having a beer. Like it's the same thing.
So yeah, how do you do that? Let's say you're just a 10-person company, and as the CEO, you can't do it all. So you have other people helping you out. You have a marketing person. How do you get that in line so everybody's on the same page?
Well, that's it. But you can't. I really don't think there's such thing as necessarily a company personality. I think that we unless you're a company of one, you're going to have different personalities to bring people in. You're not going to have all the same personality. It just doesn't work that way. I think that each individual creates their own voice and personality. There can just be a certain style with the company. Like you look at certain tweets from certain companies, they're always kind of under the same type of style. But I think what creates great companies is a variety of people that are in them. So I don't think forcing anybody to go under one voice makes sense. Maybe the person doing Twitter should have the same style, sure, and under the company account. But everybody should be allowed to be their own unique self. That because when you try to say no, you got to act this way, that's when people trip up. That's when people don't seem they seem fake. And I find social online is really kind of transparent, meaning you can kind of figure it out whether or not it's forced, whether or not it's laid back or easygoing or authentic. And there's a difference. But you don't have to be me. You don't have to be a spaz. Like you don't have to be somebody who can just freaks out all the time and gets angry. It's just you. My personality lends to it. But you don't need 160,000 followers. I don't need 160,000 followers. When we're talking about relationships, I don't have relationships with 160,000 people. I have a one-way megaphone most of the time to those people. They're not my connections. My LinkedIn connections aren't my connections. I have like 6,000 connections on LinkedIn. I know 11 people. Like it's just like I'm not my popularity is greatly exaggerated by my online presence because those aren't connections to me. And we're bounding around kind of ideas for book 4, and we're talking about kind of the falsity of connection online, where what we claim is not what it is. That sometimes it gets to a certain point. There's different people who say different numbers, but it gets to a certain point where you get to a certain number of connections, and then you're not connected with anybody. You're just so overwhelmed with connections that a couple of those scientists and stuff say you can only really connect with 108 people or something like that, and after that, and I really believe the more you connect online, numbers wise, the less you connect with each individual person.
Yeah. But what I think though too is you understand that, and as long as you understand that, then you can say, here's my megaphone, but I'm going to use it in a responsible way.
But yeah, exactly. I think with anything platform comes some kind of responsibility, but also recognition of what's going on. For me, like for Facebook, I opened the marketing page maybe 2 years ago, or less than that maybe, and I just started moving people over to there, realizing what's happening. That I'm starting to I get up to 4,000 something friends on Facebook, and all that did was not allow me to connect with my actual friends. That I was seeing updates from people I didn't care about. And that's not good. That's not authentic. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to me. So I moved over to the marketing page. I started kind of telling people to, go over there. And then I started going through my friends list and unfriending people who I didn't know, I didn't see. And I don't like doing that because some people actually find out and like, oh, we're not really my friend, but I never was. And my mistake was accepting the friend connection without responsibility. I thought it was a numbers game then when I did it. So I've gotten down to about 1,900 friends on Facebook from over 4,000. I've done it one at a time. So like I've done like 2 years removing friends to a point where now when I see it, I actually am interested in most things I see. I'm not done culling the herd yet, but it's much better. And like for Twitter, I don't read my tweets from who I follow because I auto followed back 35,000 people and it's a waste. So if I could go back and do it again and start online relationships again, I would connect with those I had time and the want and the urge to connect with.
And that's a great point in the fact that that's part of a big part of your business model. And I think a lot of people should take note of that and say, wait a second, like there are customers that, buy once and then don't come back. But the ones that do, the ones that care, the fans,
Right.
those are the ones you should really try to build a stronger relationship with.
A connection with them for sure, because it turns them into potentially a static customer to an ecstatic customer. It can turn them into an even more evangelist. And then that's when you create community. I don't think you create community without some kind of conversation. And the conversation creates at least a perception of relationships. And I really believe that most companies and corporations couldn't care less. They actually don't want the conversation. They want you to buy or goodbye.
Yeah.
Like just, we didn't ask you, shut up and go. You know what I mean? And on some of my bad days, that's what I want with books. You buy the book and be quiet. But I don't want to hear feedback. But a lot of companies, I really don't think like this whole social media thing that's exploded and don't like that fact that they shouldn't have a two-way connection.
Mm-hmm.
That they're the vendor, they're the company, you're the consumer, you're the buyer, and this is how it works. You come to us, you give us money, you take that, and that's it. We're done. And the smart people will understand where the advantage and the leverage points are when it comes to customer relationships, of what they can do.
Yeah. Who have you seen that has done that very well?
Well, you get the common, the common ones we hear. And it's true. It's things like Zappos, things like Southwest. Delta has gotten a whole lot better. I really know. I got to give them kudos for that. They've gotten a lot better at their stuff.
Oh, didn't you do a talk about that where you tweeted about? I saw that. Can you tell that story real quick?
Yeah, it was one where I was in JFK, New York, and I had the whole flight attendants and pilots kind of butt in front of me, and they didn't even say excuse me, and I'm like, come on, you can't just push past somebody like that. And one of them turned to me and said, I said excuse me, and I said I didn't even hear anybody say it, and she looks at me and goes, well, then open your ears. And I'm just like, oh, do you know who I think I am? Yeah, that was it. And I just freaked out and tweeted. My Delta Airlines flight attendant pushes in front of me at JFK Airport. And when I say, ask for an excuse me, she says, open your ears. And then Delta Assist, the Twitter account Delta Assist, tweets back in like 3 minutes and apologizes. And the best part about it, they saw it and replied, even though I misspelled Delta. I spelled it Detla. I was so blind with rage, I spelled it Detla. And they still caught it. Like, that's smart. They're so smart. They have a safe search string set up for misspellings angrily of their name. Like, that's how good they are. So, and they won me back over. Like, they just diffused my anger. And a lot of times when people complain about brands and stuff online, they're looking for acknowledgement.
Yeah.
They're looking for somebody to say, we heard what you said. And that flipped it. And I've phoned a bunch of times since then. And I wouldn't have thought I would. I was creating my shun list. Like, I'm never flying them again. My son's never going to fly them. His unborn children will never fly them. It's going in my will. It's just. So they flipped it. And I think that, and so a lot of the industries that we classically known as very poor in customer service has a great opportunity for it, and some of them are doing it. Some of the cell phone companies are real good at it. It's this real time, if we put quotes around it, the real time side of things. To me, it's real time customer service, not just real time marketing. And that's what that is. Solving a problem, to me, it's customer service for sure.
And that's great marketing too. Like I always get a little bit confused when people separate customer service and marketing.
I think customer service, but customer service is marketing, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
the best marketing you could do is be great at customer service. To me, it's just like for me is hiring is marketing. It's who you're bringing in. They're all marketing to me is what the company does stands for. Marketing is what when you ask a customer, I say my company name, what is their response? That's what my marketing has done, whatever that is, and that's a combination of people, customer service, product service, and everything else.
yeah, yeah. So as you, a lot of people are listening. They're probably like, I know it takes effort, but sometimes it feels like it's overwhelming in the fact that I get one Twitter follower and then they drop off. I get two and then one drops off. And then,
I know. I'm trying to build an Instagram following. It's hard. It's I
yeah,
find it hard. I'm just doing it now.
yeah. So, how do they push through that? How do they get through that so they can start, building relationships and doing a better job of creating connections?
I think that you kind of just put the answer right in there is that you got to focus on creating a connection, not necessarily building an entire large platform. That you can't have 1,000 followers until you have 100. You can't have 100 until you have 10. And you look at it and say, what's my goal? Right? That's a huge thing we forget to do. It's like classical planning 101 from the 80s. Like, what do we want first? You plan the damn thing. And it's just stepping back and saying, instead of saying I need to be on Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus, Facebook, Snapchat, everything. Just use instead of saying we're going to use everything. Let's say what do we want first? Where's the best place to do it using the resources and the time and the talent we have? That's your statement. That's your question. And if your answer is I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a small business owner, maybe it's just me. So I have, let's say I'm just starting, I have more time than, let's say, money to spend, and I want to connect with a very focused amount of people to get to know them. Okay, then I'm going to suggest Twitter, right? And then I can do that. Then you put a plan to that and say, today I'm going to tweet this many times about something and then reply this many times to people. And it's a plan. When I did Twitter, when I started my push on Twitter in January 2009, it was that. It was, I'm going to be on there from when I wake up to when I go to bed, literally. And I'm going to tweet 3 to 5 things throughout the day that I think are really good advice or funny, under 120 characters, because back then a retweet was the old school kind of retweet and added your name to it, so added more characters. So you had to leave enough space to get it retweeted. And I did that every single day. My job was just to talk with people. At the time, I was 75% of my tweets were replies. That my job was going out there and talking with people, not at them. And I had a plan. And I did that every day for 30 days. And I created momentum. And that's how you only get noticed when you get frequency and when you get momentum. And so I had to create a plan. So it was almost like, to me, I still have to ignore all the stuff going. I'm overwhelmed and I'm in social media, right? You don't have any hope if this is one of your things. It's a marketing thing. It's out of the 37,000 other things you have to do as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. You can't just tweet for 3 seconds a week and think it's going to work. Like, if you don't have time, you just don't do it. But if you do have time, pick one place to do it and do it well instead of picking 4 places and doing it all mediocre.
Yeah, that's good advice. So this is the toughest question I have I ask everybody, what's the secret to happiness?
I think it's bacon.
Canadian bacon?
No, 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 no. Canadian bacon we invented as a distraction for Americans. So we'd have them eat that, thinking we eat it, while we eat real bacon. That's what Canadian bacon is. It's a joke. Like, nobody here eats it. We just export it to you. We keep a few of it in like a couple Denny's up here that if you come up, we'll bring it out of the freezer and use it. No, nobody here eats it. You know what? But my key to happiness for me is not working any day of my life, because I don't consider this work. That old, horribly cheesy line that I thought was ridiculous, that I was told 100 times: if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. Damn it, it's true. I don't work, man. I have not stopped working in 12 years for my company, and I don't work.
That's
I
awesome.
love it. I love the content. I love getting through. I love talking with people and doing talks on stage. I love doing the unpodcast. I love doing the books, and none of it's work. And that to me is the key, because then everything else is a joy.
Yeah. And that brings up a good point. Do marketing that excites you instead of like the drudgery that drags you down.
Well, especially when it comes to, let's say, a technique or a platform. If you say, well, everybody's doing video, I need to do it, but I hate it, don't do it. Right? If everybody's doing a podcast, well then, and you don't want to do one, don't do it, because it'll come across.
Yeah.
Right? You like to write blog posts, and keep writing them, right? Because that's where your passion is going to come through real transparently, really come through, when you either love doing it or you hate it. Because I know when I give a talk, I know when we do the unpodcast, I know when you read one of my books, I'm loving creating that, because I put everything in it and I love it, and I really think that rubs off on the readers, on the viewers.
It makes me. I've heard it from. I want to say like my grandmother or something. But whenever you put love into a recipe and you really, people taste that.
You can. You
Yeah.
totally can. And I think that when it comes to entrepreneurs, I think passion plus knowledge equals profit. If you can get them all, those first two things right, you'll make a living at it, because passion's contagious. I really believe that.
Yeah. 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 I'm doing working on a landing page for a siding client. And it's fun because it's A/B testing, and you try a little something, doesn't work, and you're like, but then you come right back again, and it's just fun. We're starting to see some positive results, but it's taking a while, and they can
Is-
see that like every week I'm like telling them different things, and they can feel that passion coming out of me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's it. It's contagious for sure. And any job you do.
Yeah, yeah. So if we talked about a few concepts of marketing, and we're kind of winding down the interview here. Um, what is one thing that you would say this is something that you should start doing? A certain step, a certain process to really start connecting. What would that be?
I think it's figuring out who you want to connect with first, which is huge, and picking focus and pick a platform. I think the best asset to our attention deficit entrepreneurs that we all are is focus. That, pick a platform right now and say, I'm only going to spend time on this for the next week. With whatever time I've devoted to networking with people, then I'm going to focus on it. So if it's LinkedIn, then just LinkedIn it up. Do it all you can. If you're going to be, or on the flip side of it, if you already got that down packed, go somewhere in person. Go to a tweet up, go to a networking event, go to something and connect virtually, and then see those people in person, because we become virtually lazy.
Yeah,
We think all networking can happen online. Again, it's different between you and I meeting at something like South by in person versus just a tweet. It's two different impacts, right?
hmm exactly.
And
I
bacon,
like that.
and bacon.
And bacon while you're hanging out with people.
Wow, a bacon tweet up. Make that happen. I'll be there.
I'll do that in San Antonio, and I'll invite you.
You got it.
Well, thank you so much. Where can people go? Unmarketing.com.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
On marketing on Twitter, on marketing on Facebook. The podcast is on the main site, but it's also unpodcast in iTunes or anywhere else. And that's it. And all the books are in every book place you can find, from unmarketing to the new one, QR Codes Kill Kittens. That was a fun one. So,
I love that title. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
my pleasure.
Have a good day.
Take care.